Dear Nintendo, it's almost 30 years since Super Mario RPG released, and the fact that there is no talk of a remake or sequel is such a travesty. Oh look, there's a new Direct. Dear Nintendo, so I want $10 million. What's up, dudes? This is Ren from the Hassyverse, and today we're talking about Super Mario RPG. Now, if you haven't heard the news or watched the latest Nintendo Direct, yes, this game is getting a remake, and it comes out on November 17th, 2023, which is much sooner than any of us probably ever thought, which was probably never. But look, this game is a big deal because this is one of the last few games that Nintendo really has not touched ever since it was released back in 1996. And I want to really talk about this because it's pretty monumental. You've probably read news about this game and how hyped people are about it because it does bring back a lot of good memories in a lot of people's minds. Now, if you don't know what Super Mario RPG is about, here's the gist. It starts off like any other game. Mario is off to save the princess, and he ends up meeting up with her and Bowser, who does have her. A big sword falls in from the sky and into Bowser Castle, and it splits Star Road in half, and a bunch of segments of stars go flying all over the place. Not to mention Mario, Princess Toadstool, and Bowser all fly in different directions. Now, your goal is to basically get back to Bowser and try to save the princess. But you realize they're all gone too. So you also realize you can't get back into Bowser's castle, and the only way to do that is to retrieve these star fragments. So you go off to try to retrieve these star fragments, and the thing that took them is a bad guy named Smithy. And he and his gang had these star fragments and want to use them to basically control the world. You join up with a lot of people throughout this story and this adventure, and the first few you do meet up with are Mallow, who is like basically a tadpole, and you also meet up with Gino, who is basically a puppet. These two characters are definitely not ones you've heard of unless you've played this game, because they don't show up in any other game. These are property of Square, or now Square Enix. And it's really a travesty that they have not been in other games, but there's definitely a big reason why, and I'm about to talk about that in a minute. So the history of this game is quite interesting. So, like I mentioned, it's a collab between Squaresoft, at the time now Square Enix, and Nintendo. So Squaresoft actually, during the 90s, was exclusively making games for Nintendo. And the reason why this game came into fruition is because Square first really wanted to make an impact in America. And Nintendo really wanted to make an RPG game. Basically, this game is the product of both of their desires coming true. And they both got what they wanted. They got a super successful game in Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars that could finally reach into America and open the doors for them. After the production of this game, things kind of went south between Square and Nintendo. So Square wanted to really push into the making games for CDs, while Nintendo was still reluctant. That's why with the 64 we still had cartridges. Because it was so successful, they fast-tracked to making a sequel. But when that disconnect happened between Square and Nintendo, a lot of things changed. So when it comes to the characters and the designs and products of that game, they could not really use it anymore. But it turned into Paper Mario. And look, Paper Mario is a beloved RPG series as well. And the reason why is because they implemented so much of what was in Mario RPG into Paper Mario as well, but just changed the design, obviously changed a lot of characters, and some other things along the way, but still made a very great spiritual successor to Mario RPG. And we've seen the same for the Mario and Luigi series as well. Why is Mario RPG so good? Okay, first it really goes to the graphics. The isometric 3D environment that allows you to be able to move in not just up, down, left, right, but diagonally as well, is quite fun and quite different, and nothing that Nintendo's ever been able to do for any game up to this point. Also, it's the simplistic design of this game. It gives you characters and abilities that are very recognizable. Like Mario can use his hammer, he can jump on them. Now also the action elements are a big deal with the RPG, and one of the reasons why it's such a fun game. The timing is really important when it comes to Super Mario RPG, and if you've played Paper Mario, then you'll know that's also a very significant factor. When it comes to blocking or parrying enemies' attacks, or when it comes to being able to time hammer shots to make them more powerful, these are things that Nintendo added to just make the game more fun and just to give a different dimension, which wasn't really seen before, and that's why people love this game so much. It's just all of that creativeness that Nintendo added with Square to kind of create this quirky game with just interesting characters, but fun comedic storytelling at the same time. It's really something to marvel at, and it's one of those games I've always loved to revisit. It's one of my favorite games on the Super Nintendo, next to Super Mario World and Yoshi's Island as well. It's definitely that good. So, what do we know about this remake so far? Now, it seems like most of the story is intact. I mean, from the trailer, we don't really see anything diverging too much in terms of the characters or, the bosses that are being fought. But it does seem to have a little bit of gameplay differences, like there's some sort of boost system that's going on here that we won't know anything about yet. And we can also see that the graphics are even better now that it's going to be on the Switch. I mean, it's definitely amped up the graphics. And the music as well is just as good. And look, this game is looking really solid. I do have some questions about how different this game is going to be. Because, look, one of the first things I thought was, man, if they're going to remake this, is there going to be any value to getting it when I've played this game several times? Honestly, we won't know that answer until probably more future videos or future trailers for this game, which should be coming up relatively soon because we only have a few months left anyways. But how far is it going to go when it comes to content? I mean, are we going to get a lot of new content, maybe like some new stories within the game? Are we going to get new characters? Are we going to get some new worlds maybe even within the game? I mean, I feel like there's a chance that we will, just because Nintendo never really just remakes a game and just lets it stay one-to-one. And look, I just think Nintendo probably will add quite a bit to this game. Are we going to see like auto battles for this game? Because look, when it comes to RPGs like Pokemon, we have the ability to be able to grind easier because we can auto battle now. And is that going to be a factor when it comes to this game? And if that is the case, what about the difficulty? Is the difficulty going to rise too? Because this game is not exactly the hardest RPG, to say the least. And it's not a really long one either. So, I mean, is there going to be some sort of hardcore mode where you could play and, get some more value out of the game? I mean, these are all questions, like I said, we won't really know until the coming months. But look, I'm excited to see what this game is about. And if I were a betting man, I wouldn't bet against Nintendo because they usually know how to make something old not only fresh and new, but even more of an experience. And I think this is going to follow suit. Now, I want to thank you guys for listening to me talk more about Super Mario RPG Remake, and I want to know what you guys think about this game. I mean, are you excited about it? Are you disappointed? Did you want to see a sequel, or do you think there's going to be more to this game than meets the eye? I want to know all about it. And if you want to hear more of what I got to say about video games and anime and stuff, you can find me by clicking that platypus right there, somewhere on the screen. And I want you guys to have a great day, a great morning, a great night, wherever it is, wherever you are, and don't forget to stay nerdious.